Hi, my name is Keri Barnum. I am the Executive Director for New Shelves Books. It is October the 2nd, and we are here for Free Advice Friday, the hour every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, where we come together and we answer your questions about publishing, book marketing, and we just build our writing community and our marketing community so that we can all go a little bit further. Today we have some questions by email. We also have live questions. So if you're in the Zoom chat and you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. And if we can, we'll answer it. If not, it might go on for next week. We might have to do some research. I know that question's come up quite a bit recently. Do you know everything? I like to think I do. However, my husband tells me I don't, and he's usually right. And so sometimes we don't know everything, and we don't know the answer to your questions, but we're committed to using our industry contacts. We're committed to researching and finding out because it helps us all, and I think that we should all know as much as we can. As my high school teacher used to always say, it's good to know stuff. So let's jump right in. All right. I like this. Best way to increase visibility for your website. And this is a big question. We've talked about websites and how they are a hub for you online. They're your landing page, your home. And I think that it's really important that you do have some type of website, because even if you're building up your social media, Facebook can go away, Twitter can go away. There's a lot of things that you don't own or control. However, a website you do. You actually own your URL, you upkeep it, you pay the rent on it, so to speak. So having a website, I think, is super important, and driving traffic to it can sometimes feel hard. It feels like, man, I've got this website that's just sitting out there on the internet and nothing ever happens to it. So I think that there are a couple ways to drive traffic to your website. Number one is blogging and guest blogging. So if you are a blogger, if you've got a lot to say and you like to write, set up a regular blog. Note, I said regular. So I think it's really important that you have consistency there, and it could be weekly, could be bi-weekly, it could be monthly, as long as it's regular and people know when to expect to hear from you. And you can write about anything that pertains to you, your audience, your book. So it doesn't always have to be a book or a topic about your book. Maybe it's about writing one time. Maybe your next blog is about your research for your book. Maybe your next blog is just about I don't know, being thankful in November. It's a little cliche, but like there's so many different things that you can do. As long as you are connecting with your audience, sharing of yourself, and you're providing some type of benefit to them, whether it be something that's funny, or again, you're connecting, or you're giving them information, just find that. So blogging's really good. And then guest blogging is where you go to someone else, and you offer, or you ask to write an article on their blog. In essence, you are borrowing their audience. You are also providing value by giving them a post they didn't have to write, by sharing your expertise. This can be great. We do it all the time in the book marketing industry. Amy and I regularly write blogs for Joel Friedlander at The Book Designer. We have people who come and write blogs for us. I know we had Alan Gibson write one not too long ago. And we're actually working on getting some more guest bloggers. Just like we like to have guests on Free Advice Fridays, people like that for their websites. It brings in new interest, new traffic, and you kind of borrow their audience and their traffic. And most of the time, you're able to have a short bio and link over to your website. These are both things that don't cost anything, but they do take a little bit of time. Of course, you can do paid ads. You could do Google ads that are promoting your website, or you could do ads from your social media trying to get people over to your website. But typically when you're doing that, there has to be something of value at the end. So you can't just say, click to go to my website and run an ad on it. No one's, honestly, I'm afraid, most of the time not going to care. However, if you say, click to go to my website and claim this free whatever it is, totally different. You can also email capture them, and then you can connect to them on your newsletter or just your mailing list. So again, you can do paid ads, but you have to have a reason. If you're looking for just natural increase of visibility to your website, blogging and guest blogging are excellent ways to do that. And also, as you're talking about your book, it's okay to link to your website. You don't always have to link to a sales site. Sometimes you link to your website and you get people over there. And tell people when something's happening at your website. Tell them on social media so they know to go visit, and create some excitement on why they should go visit. I love that. David's asking about MySpace. So for anyone under the age of 30, MySpace used to be Facebook, kind of like, and no, David, I don't think that MySpace is a big marketing hub anymore. But that's funny. I don't know if you're still friends with Tom. I probably am. And Randy is saying you can also offer cash and prizes via Rafflecopter to promo and get subscribers. That is an excellent comment. So Rafflecopter is a giveaway tool that you can use to give away cash, prizes. It could be something for your book. It could, maybe you work with 5 different authors and you collaborate and pull together a bunch of books that you can give away to someone. And Rafflecopter kind of makes people go and do certain things for an entry. It may be to like your book on Goodreads, it may be to like your website, sign up for your newsletter. There's lots of options in there. So that's a really great tool to have. Okay, what would be the most effective and easiest ways for me to advertise and market an upcoming children's picture book? Small budget, not very tech savvy. I'm on Facebook, just signed up for Instagram, don't have a business website yet. That's okay. I like that you know your strengths and you know your weaknesses, because it's okay to have weaknesses. We all have them. I have them for sure. The important thing is to play to your strengths, and also to make sure that when you do have a gap in your knowledge or your expertise, you find someone to help. Maybe that's a friend, maybe that's an intern, maybe that's a VA. There are lots of different ways to do this on a budget. For children's picture books especially, I think it's important to remember 2 things. With the children's picture book, you have 2 audiences. The child, which you have to excite and draw in, and then the actual purchaser, which tends to be aunt, uncle, parents, grandparents. So you kind of have to split yourself just a teeny bit. Now, keeping in mind that when we're talking about right now with COVID, everyone's home, or a lot of people are staying home. And so you're doing most of this online. It's really hard to reach a child online. Well, I guess it depends on the parents, but for many, it's hard to reach a child online. They're not browsing Facebook, they're not on Twitter. So that's kind of hard to do. I would be working on connecting to the parents and grandparents. That may be through a blog tour. What I love about a blog tour is that you hire a blog tour company. I like to do this anyway. You go to a blog tour company, you hire them so that when they do a blog tour, sorry, I lost my train of thought. When they do a blog tour, they do it all at once. They set it all up for you. This is fantastic for those that are not super tech savvy, because most of everything is handled for you. The blog tour organizer will ask you for specific things, specific files, and then they handle everything else and you follow along. It's not too hard, which I really like for people who maybe aren't too tech savvy. Other things that you can do is, if your libraries are open, reach out to your local libraries, ask about story times. Even if they're not open for in-person, ask them about virtual story times. A lot of libraries are really struggling to find content and things of value to offer the community while they're shut down or they're limited. And so offering them a free story time, offering them something of value that they can then market as a value to them, can be a great free way to get your name out there. A lot of bookstores may do this as well, especially children's bookstores. And being virtual opens the world to you. I mean, you don't just have to be reaching out to the library 5 minutes away. You can reach out to any library in your state. And you know what? If you're not tech savvy, call them. I mean, you can certainly email them, but call them. Reach out just organically like that. work within your means and what works for you. And don't feel like you have to take it all at once. You don't have to do everything all at once. 10 minutes a day, if it's regular, if you're doing 10-minute marketing moments every day, or Monday through Friday, whatever works, you're really going to get where you want to go. It's the little consistent movements that will make the most difference. And I know, Pat, that you've got that in you. All right. And yes, Bob is saying, guys, we have Bob Eckstein, who is a New Yorker. He's a cartoonist, amazing. And he's been in the New Yorker. He's got a new book coming out, which I just got a copy of, Perks of Being Friends. And it's hilarious. My husband and I read it for like an hour the other day. It's just different cartoons about love and marriage and war and divorce. Really funny. And Bob's going to be our guest on October 23rd, and he's saying maybe we can actually use Rafflecopter for a giveaway then and kind of show you guys how it works. I love that idea, so we're going to revisit that. Let's see. I uploaded my paperback for pre-order on Barnes & Noble. When I went to upload it to Ingram Spark, I was told my ISBN needed to be released by Barnes & Noble. Can you explain how that works? Do I need to worry about uploading to Amazon as well? So Sonia, what probably happened is all of these platforms, these print-on-demand platforms, are their own entities. Ingram Spark, Barnes & Noble has a print-on-demand press. Then there is Amazon and KDP. Most of them, because they're savvy, what will happen is they have this small little checkbox where they say, do you want us to do all of your distribution? On Amazon, this is called expanded distribution, and I'm sure you've heard me say and Amy say, nah, don't do it. And what that is they are essentially doing what you would do by going and getting your own Ingram Spark account, your own Amazon account, and they are acting as that go-between, and they take part of your profit. So I would highly recommend that you ask Barnes & Noble to release, you upload to Ingram Spark, and if that means that you've already got your book up in Barnes & Noble and you need to not have that distribution with Ingram Spark, you can do that. And then you need to upload directly to KDP for Amazon if you have a paperback or an ebook. If you have a hardcover, then you go through Ingram Spark because there's no print-on-demand hardcover on Amazon. So typically for a print book, I use Ingram Spark for all my wholesale into Barnes & Noble, Ingram Wholesaler, Walmart.com, that kind of thing. And then KDP is for Amazon specific for paperback and ebook. You make more money that way. I was talking to an author the other day, and when I told her how much more money she could make by using both Ingram Spark and Amazon, opposed to just doing Ingram Spark and letting them ship the book over to Amazon and selling that way, she was astounded when a large majority of sales do come from Amazon. Keep in mind, 90% of ebook sales came from Amazon last year, and 48% of print books came from Amazon. So if 48% of your sales are coming from Amazon, and you could be making almost twice the profit by going through KDP directly, opposed from Ingram Spark and having them distribute over to Amazon, that's a nice chunk of change. So it's kind of a pain to have Ingram Spark and KDP accounts, but it is worth it. So I highly recommend that. And I'm being asked if I know of any promo code for Ingram Spark for title setup or free changes. I can't think of one off the top of my head, but Google it. There's almost always a promo code going around, and they've been really good about it during this whole pandemic timing and everything. I've seen promo codes right on their website. They've been very generous. So if you don't have a code, then absolutely do that. And if you're a part of certain organizations like IBPA, I believe Ally has one, they actually give their members a code for that works all the time. So let's see. Love this. Silly question. There's no such thing. What is the best practice for displaying a landscape book cover, specifically when uploading to Bowker and Ingram Spark? That is a great question. Typically, when you're uploading to Ingram Spark, you have your formatted book cover file. You are not just doing a JPEG or anything like that. You have your full file that has to be templated for Ingram Spark. Now, if you're going to Bowker, I see what you're saying because it would probably be cut off. I think one of two ways. You can just upload it as it is, landscape, and if it gets cut off, I believe they can click on it and expand. Or the other option is that you can use something like Canva where you upload your book cover, use a plain white background, and you just drop it in there so that it's in a square kind of thing rather than being long and landscape and it doesn't cut off. So you kind of have your book cover within a square. Half a dozen or another, honestly, I don't think you can really go wrong. But definitely for Ingram Spark, you have to use their templates. Yeah, and exactly, David. David is saying that landscape book cover images seem to appear smaller when pushed to Amazon and other retailers. They do, because they have to fit within a box. They have to fit within a size. And so what they do, because obviously we're trying to put a rectangle in a square and it doesn't work, so they're shrinking down that rectangle to fit within the square. And that's just kind of, it's just kind of what it is. You could have a display image made that was more of a square, but that's hit or miss, so I'm not sure I would invest too much time or money in that one. Is it easier to find an audiobook producer to share royalties if you have a series? David, I think that depends, but in many cases, I think yes. I mean, we know that when you have a series, especially if you have a well-performing series that's out in paperback, ebook, if you have a well-performing series that's out and you are trying to shop your audiobook to different companies to get them to produce it and then share royalties with you, absolutely, because they're not just saying dollar signs for one book. They're saying, wow, we've got a 5-book series that's doing really well. If people listen to the first book and they like it, they would probably go on to more books. So it's essentially finding one client that's got 5 cash opportunities. So yes, if you've got a series out that's doing well, absolutely. And there are companies that will literally go out and they will look for series that are performing well that don't have audiobooks yet, and they will make offers. I'm not saying that happens all the time for people, but there are companies that are out there doing that. So if you are trying to shop a series, I would definitely let them know your success in print and let them know that you do have a series. And if you have upcoming books planned, mention that as well. I think that the more we can tell, the more you can tell a publisher or a company how you will benefit them, the opportunities that you will bring to the table, the better off it is. We don't want to be long-winded, but also, I mean, give them all the facts so that they know exactly what they're getting when they partner with you. All right. Molly's asking, what about KDP Select, which is Kindle ebook, Amazon exclusive, and also being on Ingram Spark? So Molly, if you were talking about the ebook being on Ingram Spark and on KDP Select, you can't. What actually happens is that KDP Select is an exclusive to Amazon. It means that you are committing that your ebook will only be available on Amazon. It goes in Kindle Unlimited, and it is available only through them and no other site for the ebook only. And that's a 90-day commitment. It will auto renew unless you uncheck the box, but that's exclusive. Now, if you are asking about KDP Select for your ebook, and then you're uploading your paperback to Ingram Spark, absolutely fine. The exclusivity for KDP Select is only for your ebook. It does not affect your paperback in any way. So you can do your paperback, upload to Ingram Spark for Ingram Wholesale, upload your paperback to Amazon for or KDP for Amazon sales, and then do your ebook KDP Select so it's exclusive on Amazon. completely legit. You're not scamming anybody. You're well within the rules that way. Oh, very interesting. Jane is saying, I'm collaborating with another author on a new book. We both have our own companies. Should we form a separate company for the co-authored books? So, Jane, I think that depends on you, your partner, and your personal goals. If you both are thinking this will be a long-term venture and you really want to share it, you really want to share it 50-50, and you want to have a company that you run together, then probably, especially if you're planning to do multiple books or it's going to be a book and some products, that sort of thing. But another option is to have one of you take front and center. So you could say, all right, we can publish under my company, we'll run things under my company, and then we will have a written agreement. I highly recommend, going the legal route and getting something drawn up saying that you will pay a certain amount to the co-author, or that they get a certain amount of royalties. That way you're not running two companies, or you're not running a company together. You're basically paying for the co-author in their services and their ability, and then they are getting a royalty. So that's certainly an option, but again, it depends on what your goals are, what your relationship is with your partner. Sometimes it's easier to have one person actually own the rights and then have a agreement that gives them royalties, because that way if anything ever goes sketchy, then it's always known who has the ultimate rights and what the royalties are, and you could consider to break at that point, sell out, that kind of thing. But no matter what you do, I highly recommend that you get some type of legal advice, you get something in writing so that things are clear. I think sometimes when we enter into these relationships with people, it gets messy because we're not clear and things aren't laid out in the beginning. So I think it's always important to set those boundaries, to set those expectations, because then there's no wondering like, well, did they know? Are they stepping on my toes? Is this okay? You just know because it's in writing. It's like, no, the agreement says this, and so we're all good or we're not good, and then you address it that way. So my personal opinion there, but you have to do what's right for you, your business, and for your partnership. Yes, Randy, I saw this question earlier from you this week when you emailed me. What do you recommend when titling a second or subsequent book in a series? Use the title or subtitle of the first book in the subtitle or subsequent books, or just put John Doe, author of book one, title on the cover. You can do it a couple of ways. I think branding a series name is a great thing to do because your titles could be totally different. You could have one title be, I don't know, Go Golden, and then your next title is I Love Plants. But if they're all together under the Keri's Random House Items series, then it's fine, because no matter what the random titles are, I'm drawing them together and people will find them and be able to search for them under my series name. So there's value in doing a series name that just ties everything together. Then you have people who do a book series like Chicken Soup for the Soul. So Chicken Soup for the Soul started off as one book. Then they branded that name as the series and used it in every other title. Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul, Chicken Soup for the Mom Soul, Chicken Soup for the Pastor Soul. It was kind of a branding theme, so everyone knew that those books were going to be similar. And it worked. I mean, obviously it worked really well for them. So I think it's more important to know, will your books be very close to the same? If so, branding the title of the first book and using it in every single title can be a great idea. However, if your books are going to be a little bit different, let's say you have a thriller series, what is the line that goes between all of them? Is it the main character? I mean, look at Michael Connelly. It's the Bosch series. We don't say it's I don't even remember what the first book was, but we don't call it by that. It's because the main character is what ties all the books together. I do think that if you're essentially doing books that are very much in line and could be a series, it's smart to brand them as a series because it gives you more metadata, gives you more searchability, and it's something that tells people that you have more than one book. So I think, again, it depends case by case, as oftentimes book marketing is, but I think that having that tie-in, even if it's not exactly, if you're not using the wording exactly, having a common thread tie-in is important if you want to brand yourself as an author and if you want to brand your books. All right. If you are self-publishing, is it best to set up your own publishing company and name? Absolutely it is. We highly recommend that you not only buy your own ISBNs, which is super important. If you are publishing a book and you are going to take KDP or Ingram Spark or Draft Digital's free ISBN, stop right now, go to myidentifiers.com if you're in the US and buy yourself some ISBNs. You can get a pack of 10 for like $300. That means you own the distribution rights, you own your work, and you can take that ISBN anywhere. If you're in Canada, you can apply for those ISBNs for free. Outside of Canada, I'm not well versed, but go research. So get your own ISBNs and make sure that you are using your own ISBNs. And when you do that, create a publishing imprint, which is also often referred to as a publishing company or a publishing name. Your publishing company should be something that is yours. You don't have to copyright it. You don't have to trademark it. However, I highly recommend whatever you decide on, Google it and make sure that it's not already copyrighted or trademarked. I do not recommend that, like, well, Penguin Books is doing really well, so I think I'll just do Keri's Penguin Books. Don't spam off of anybody else. Not really classy and could get you into trouble. And also, you generally want to make sure that you do not use your name or anything associated with you. So I would never do Keri Barnum Books. However, I could do Sweet Home Books. I could do something like that. I could do Sweden Lane Books. I could do so many different things, but you don't want to do something that leads directly to you. The whole point of creating a publishing name and company is to set up a company that looks bigger than yourself. It's saying that you are taking publishing professionally and you are setting up your own company name. You don't have to have a DBA. You do not have to go and do anything crazy. You can absolutely go set up a company name with that. You can get a DBA, you can get an LLC, but you don't have to. You do have to register it on Bowker and put it as an imprint. And then as you're publishing, you use that imprint on Amazon and on Ingram Spark and on Draft Digital as your publishing name. Now, I know I just sat here and said, don't ever use your name, don't use things that can tie back to you, but there is one caveat. And the caveat is if your book is a business book and you very much are using this business book to push your book towards branding your business and building your business, that's okay. If you know I'm going to have 5 books coming out, they're all about my business, and I want them to be basically a calling card for my business to establish my business and rep my business and draw people in, that makes sense. However, that's about the only time I recommend that you have a publishing company that directly ties back to you. I love that. Wendy's saying, I use the name of my street I grew up on, Ivory Lane Press. I grew up on Buckhorn, which probably wouldn't do very well, but Ivory Lane Press is really pretty. All right. Yeah. All right. Should your blog be on your website or separate from it? Rich, I would put my blog right on my website. It just makes sense. There's no sense to having separate pieces. I do know people who blog to their website and also connect over to like medium.com, which can be a great way to earn a couple extra bucks and spread your name. But I would say put your blog right on your website. There's no reason to separate that out. If you're driving traffic, drive it drive it 2 for 1 and get them all over to the same spot. So I would not have a separate blog. I, in fact, always encourage authors. I have a client right now I'm working with. She had 3 websites, and I said, let's combine them. You really don't need 3. You can have 3 tabs that say different things, but if your different websites and your different branding can be cohesive as one, put them as one. It's less to upkeep. When you're driving traffic, you're not splitting it between multiple places. You're putting it all in one. So put it together. And also, people don't want to have to look all over the internet to find you. They don't want to have to go 3 different places to find you when they could have, easily have a tab and do it all in one. I already have a book self-published, but it did not receive quality editorial services. Do you all offer editorial service? Joseph, we do not offer editorial services. However, I know some really great editors. We did, in fact, have Erica McIntyre, who is an editor on Free Advice Friday. I think it was 2 weeks ago. So if you haven't watched that, head on over to the YouTube channel and check that video out. So helpful. And also you can go to ericamcintyre.com, or you can come straight to our website and we have a list of people we like. You can also email me. We do have editors that we work with that we're happy to recommend when asked. And of course, you can find us at newshelves.com. See. Any thoughts for a group of standalone books for banding? And it depends. Are you talking about banding for sales? Are you talking about banding for giveaway? I think it depends on your purposes. If you are trying to do them for sales, usually you have to do that through your website, direct sales. If it's from the same publisher, it could make sense, but trying to band books for sale from a website can get a little bit messy. Now, if you're doing it for giveaway, absolutely. It's kind of like using the audiences of 5 people to push the same contest, that kind of thing. So I think that can work really well and that could be smart, but if you are banding books from different authors for sale, that can be tricky. Now, if you're doing like box sets or that kind of thing, absolutely. Some people, if they can get all of the books for a little bit cheaper of a price rather than buying them all separately, can be great. And then you see it a lot with books that come out slowly, like Twilight, for example. Twilight came out 1 book at a time. And then what they did is they did box sets because they had readers, and then they created new covers and they branded them and they put it in a box set. And people who had already bought and read the book went and bought these again because they just wanted the set because it was pretty and sat on their shelf. So there's certainly some marketing going on behind there and it can work. It just, again, depends on how you're trying to use it. All right. Should our publisher name be the same as our LLC? And should we have a publishing name if we are not self-published? Patty, if you would like to name your publisher name your LLC, sure. If not, you don't have to. That's totally up to you. And as far as having a publishing name, if you're not self-published, no. If you are published by another publisher, they already have their imprint, so you wouldn't have a publisher name. You would use their name because they are the publisher. So if you are published by Forge Books, which is a division of Macmillan, then your publishing name is Forge Books. That's who you're published under. You only need a publishing name if you are self-publishing, if you're buying your own ISBNs, and if you are putting your own books out under your own name. Let's see. Oh, my name is very close to another published author. Should I use a pen name? I'm not a huge fan of pen names, and let me tell you why. Pen names can be fine if you have a reason for a pen name. If you are, I don't know, if you are a lawyer spotlighting as a erotica writer, you may have very good reason for wanting to use a pen name. You want to keep that separate, and that makes sense to me. However, if you are just the average person and you are writing, when you use a pen name, it gets a little tricky because now so much marketing is online. So much marketing is through connection on social media, on your website. And when you use a pen name, you have to keep up two personas. You have to keep your normal life. All right, sorry about that. You have to keep your normal life, and then you also have to keep up with that persona. So it can get really tricky. And that's not always, it's a lot to take care of. I would more recommend that you distinguish your name. Maybe you add a middle initial. Maybe your first name is a nickname, but it's still something that you can really stand behind. And like if someone calls your name on the street, you're not going to be looking around to see who the heck they are. So I would say if your name, like my name, if someone else's name was Keri Barnum and I was like, I don't want to go too close to that, I would use Keri Ray Barnum, or maybe I would use KR Barnum or something that would still organically work for me. Now, if you are, again, a question, if you're a romance and a children's book author, it depends. If your romance is kind of very clean and you are working with that and children's books, it's probably fine. I mean, look at James Patterson is a classic example. He has books in so many different genres, and on his website, when you go to his website, it literally, when you enter, says, do you want the kids or do you want the adults? And he split it, but he stayed his one self. So he's driving all traffic to the same place, the same part. And so I think that works really well for him. Again, you have to know yourself. You have to know if it's something that could affect you personally or something like that. I do have a client just recently who writes these amazing nonfiction animal books, and she has done very well. She does like grieving for pets and letting them go and just really connecting with your pets. And she is amazing. She's like on chewy.com and all this stuff. And then she decided she was going to write cozy mysteries. And she decided that she was going to use a pen name because she needed to distance herself from a brand that she'd already very strongly created. However, in creating this pen name, what she did was she said, okay, my pen name is Melanie Snow. However, I'm going to tell people right out, it's a pen name. I'm not trying to hide behind it. I'm not trying to pretend to be someone I'm not. It's just saying, hey, this is another part of my personality. I think I need to split it. So here's this side of me, if you will. And I think it's working really well because it's not so much it's not a totally different persona. She's running a lot of things under the same thing. Like you can have a website that says on this side is Wendy and this side is Melanie. You kind of just have to work them together. And again, find out what works for you, how much marketing you're willing to do. Are you willing to do all out social media and websites for two different names? Are you willing to always go under a specific name? These are the things I think about with pen names. And so maybe the answer is yes, maybe it works for you, but pen names I think are falling out of, not favor. They're just not as popular as they once were. So that's my advice. Take it or leave it. Let's see. All right, my book is out and doing so. I of course love it. Is it too late to ask for help in marketing? Here's the thing, it's never too late to market your book. I think there are optimum times to market your book. For bookstores, it's the first year. For libraries, it's the first 2 years. But online marketing has opened it up that as long as your book is not dated, you can still market it. There are books from 5 and 10 years ago that are still selling regularly today. So I don't think it's ever too late. And sometimes it needs a little facelift. Maybe you need to update your cover a little bit or something like that. But I don't think it's ever too late. And again, it starts with the little movements. Pick 10 minutes and decide on a marketing thing that you're going to do and stick to it for a week. Maybe every day for 10 days, I'm going to take 10 minutes and I'm going to go reach out to a reviewer or a blogger. Marketing does not happen without help. I love when people say, well, they just sold like 100,000 books. They just sold them. No, No, that's not how it works. They sold them because people were marketing. People were constantly putting that name out there. And if you stop marketing a book, I don't care if it's super popular. If you stop marketing a book and people stop talking about it, it won't sell anymore. It's a slow and steady. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And hop on board anytime. Start walking, then jogging. You can run some too. But really, it's important that you just go consistently. All right. Lots of questions about our library marketing. New Shelves, as many of you know, do library mailings. And yes, we are looking into that. We have been reaching out to a lot of our library contacts. They are buying again, which I think is great. I've talked to quite a few people, and what I'm hearing is that budgets for the rest of 2020, they were decided a long time ago for most of them. And so most of them still have buying opportunities for the rest of this year. It'll be interesting to know what happens in 2020, and we're keeping an eye on that. But we are going to try for one more library push in 2020. Now that a lot of places are open, they are buying. They're definitely looking at ebooks through Overdrive. And if you are on our newsletter, we are hoping to get one of those out soon. However, insider tip, we're going to do a bookstore push first, just because the holidays are coming up and we have a very limited amount of time to hit bookstores. We talked to some buyers and they're like, yeah, we're buying books, we're stocking up for the holidays. Don't talk to us after October because we will be busy, and that's how it is. So the bookstore market typically does not like to hear from us in November, December, and about January 15th. So we leave them alone. We don't market to them at all. And that's how we maintain great relationships. So we are going to do a bookstore mailing. I believe information on that will go out today. It's going to be super quick. We've talked to our buyers. They definitely want to see books and they've asked for them quickly. So I think we're going to run a weekend sale, 48-hour sale for books going to bookstores. So if you're not on our newsletters and you're interested in that, make sure that you get on there. It's going to go out really soon, and we only have like 16 spots. So I think it will probably sell quick. And I'm excited. We've been working with a lot of indie bookstores that have done fairly okay or well during this time because of community support. And we're really working with them to look at indie books. Very excited about it. Okay, let's see. Rich is asking, I had a near-death experience which allowed me to find my life's purpose. I published a book about that. I also published 8 books on real estate, as I was a real estate broker for 30 years. My question is, which way should I pursue for branding, real estate or self-help? Well, Rich, I think it depends on, number one, your passion, what you're excited to talk about, and number two, what works. I think that if you've got 8 books on real estate, you've actually got a really great platform there to keep on with real estate. However, if that's something you used to do and you're not interested in anymore, then, I mean, you got to go with what you're passionate about, but also if you're really experienced in real estate, if you've got experience and you've got a name there, I would hate to walk away from that. I think you can absolutely brand real estate and say, by the way, I have this book, or you can use your self-help book as a draw-in. It doesn't mean you have to do one or the other, but you do kind of need to focus on one, and that needs to go with your passion, your experience, and what's selling. It's business, so you got to kind of keep in mind what's selling, what's valued, and what's needed in the marketplace. All right. Do you agree that the children's picture book market has shrunk in recent years due to kids reading chapter books by 1st grade? I've been told that a book such as Sylvester and the Magic Pebble wouldn't have a market today. Well, look, I'm getting my face on. I am a mom. I don't know if I've probably mentioned this. I'm a mom. I have a just turned 7-year-old, and then my daughter is about to turn 10. My 10-year-old still likes picture books. They're still fun. They're still engaging. Both of my kids can read chapter books, and they do read chapter books. But just like sometimes we like easy reads, just like sometimes we like mindless TV, Kids like picture books. They want to be able to just look and read and do it for fun and get through it in 5 minutes. So do I think the picture book market is gone? No, not at all. In fact, if I were going to buy a book, chapter books, I probably wouldn't go to buy until kids are a little bit older. Has it shrunk a little bit? It's possible. I mean, with kids, again, reading earlier and earlier, is it possible? Yeah, but the picture book market is never going to go away. It's fun. It's pleasing. If I'm reading a book with my kids together, and I've got 2 of them, and I've got one on this arm and one on this arm, they want to read a picture book. They don't want mommy to read a chapter book that will have to be split up over, a month because it's big. Okay, I say a month because last time we tried to tackle The Hobbit, which took a little bit, as you can imagine, with at the time a 6 and 9-year-old or 6 and 8-year-olds. So I think the children's book market may fluctuate, but picture books, kids learn with pictures. Their imagination grows with pictures. That is actually how kids learn to read, is they're taught to look at the picture. And if you don't know how to read, look at the picture to see if it can tell you what the words say. So I don't think those are going away. I think there's always going to be a market for picture books. And I think there will always be a market for print picture books, because we're remote schooling right now and everything is on the computer and tablets and things like that. It's not the same. Reading a book, and a picture book especially, on a screen, you can do it. It's just not the same. It doesn't have that same feel. So I don't think that print picture books are ever going to go out of style. Or adult cartoon books, for that matter. Because like I said, my husband and I just sat there for an hour reading Bob Eckstein's new cartoon book, and it was awesome. Okay. Yeah, and for anyone asking about those mailings or to get into those, please email us. It's info@newshelves.com. It will be awesome to connect with you there, because I will really try to remember you when we get off, but there's so much comments coming in that I probably will forget. So just email us at info@newshelves.com and we'll connect there. All right. I submitted my audiobook to ACX. What types of marketing should I be doing prior to its release? Excuse me. When you're doing an audiobook, I think it's a lot like your original book launch. I think that you can reach out to your warm market, the people currently following you on your website, on your social media, and you tell them, hey guys, the audiobook is coming. Especially if your print book is already out. I think it's great, because I may really enjoy a print book, but my husband never reads. He listens to audiobooks. I mean, he listens to probably 3 audiobooks a week. He goes through them because he drives for work. And so a lot of times, if I know an audiobook is coming out that wasn't out before, I'm like, oh, okay, now you can read it. So I think you hit your warm market because they already know you, they already like your book, and they may have someone that they're going to recommend the book to. I think you also talk about it online. You work towards reviews, same as a normal book. It's kind of more of an up and coming thing where they're doing blog tours that are very focused on audiobooks. NetGalley is now working with audiobooks. So there's a lot of opportunities. And I think, again, you market. I think probably on Facebook and social media is a great spot for that, because you can use imaging that very specifically shows your book as an audiobook. I've seen it where the book cover has headphones on it, or it's shown on a phone with earbuds. Lots of different ways to do that. So treat it like a normal book, but hit your warm market too, because they probably want to know, and they can certainly help spread the word. If you've been working on getting your community together that's supporting you as an author, ask them, if you've already read it, cool. But if not, you loved it, someone who loves audiobooks, share this, please. And I think that's okay. Ask your community to help spread the word. It's something they can do that's fairly quick, and it's certainly easy, and it costs them nothing. All right. What kind of things do you recommend for long-term maintainable book marketing? Long-term, Maintainable book marketing, I think everyone does talk about this launch or this big thing, and it takes a lot of time and usually quite a bit of money. And then people are like, okay, but what after? I think it's really important to have a plan. Many times when New Shelves is working with large clients that we work with for a big push, we also provide them a 4 to 6 month marketing calendar that they work with afterwards, because you have to maintain the momentum. It's not possible to do that for most people. It's not possible to do that for hours every week. I always say 10-minute marketing minutes. That's all you need. You need 10 minutes every day where you pick something that markets your book, whether that's to ask for reviews, to call a library and ask them to carry a book, to send an email to a bookstore. All of the things that we talk about on here, don't think you have to do them all in the same month. Yes, when your book first comes out, you're doing a lot of launch and prep work, but you can space those out over time after that. Social media, is your social media updated? Are you regularly posting? Maybe your 10 minutes looks like getting onto social media and connecting with your reading audience, with your public page on Facebook or your Instagram account or your Twitter account. Maybe your 10 minutes looks like updating your keywords on Amazon or starting an ad. 10 minutes. Find the things that are working for your book. Find the ways that are currently working in your launch. What works best to sell your book? Then break those down into chunks and make yourself a calendar. I think, well, I'm a checklist girl. If I can check something off, I know I'll do it. So put it on your calendar, do a checklist, but don't just say, market your book for 10 minutes. That's too broad. Give yourself really honed in specifics. Go find 5 bloggers who might be interested in your book. I think you can do that in 10 minutes. Maybe 3 bloggers. Go ask 5 podcasters, send them an email and ask if they'll interview you. Give yourself specific tasks so that you're not bogged down trying to think of things. I see that all the time where people are like, well, I have to do everything, and then I get my 10 minutes, and then I just didn't know what to do, so I spent my 10 minutes worrying about what to do, and I never did it, and then suddenly I was there for an hour. Don't do that to yourself. Just create a schedule, 10 minutes every day, and be consistent. Consistent doesn't mean, and guys, I am saying every day. You can take the weekend off, or maybe you work best Tuesday through Sunday, whatever it is, but be consistent, and that's really what's going to matter for long-term maintainable marketing. All right, I am finishing up the second book in my bar poem series. I can either publish mid-November or wait until January 1st. What would you recommend? Randy, I am writing a blog article about this right now. When you are deciding your launch date, many people, I've talked to, Randy, I think you are literally the 10th person this week I've talked about for a launch date and asking whether they publish in sometime between October 15th and December 15th, or they wait until January. My advice is always the same. Is there a reason to publish your book before the end of the year? Is your book the perfect giftable item and you really think that you can market and sell it over the holidays? For instance, if you have a children's picture book, that's a huge opportunity for sales. Your book as poems could be marketable for poetry buffs or dads or people who really like bars. There's certainly marketing material there. That makes sense. If it is a Christmas themed book or something like that, it will sell online. You're too late for bookstores and libraries, but you could market online, so that still works for you. But if there's not a reason to push your book before the end of the year, if you just have a fiction or a mystery or something that really doesn't lend itself, if you have a nonfiction book that's not specifically that like needs to be out before the end of the year, please wait. Wait until January, because if you put your book out in mid-November 2020, January 1st, 2021, that book looks a year old. It's only a month and a half old, but it looks a year old. You've dated yourself. Now, if there's reason for that, if you're going to make a big chunk of sales right around the holidays, that's a risk, and I think sometimes it's worth taking. But if you have a wellness book or a health book, or maybe you have a book about finances, no one wants to read about budget and finances in November and December. Everyone's taking their money and they're kind of, they're buying everything. Maybe they need it, but they don't want it. Save that for January. Save that for January when people are like, man, I really overspent again and I need help. And give yourself the gift of a full year of a book that will come out in 2021 and be relevant and still be new for an entire year. So that's my advice. Again, as with book marketing usually is, it's very much dependent on you, your sales, and your market. But those are the things that I always tell authors to consider and that I find to be very important when helping make those decisions with authors. All right. All right, you guys, we are through most of the questions. So that was great. Thank you for joining me. Again, this is Free Advice Friday. My name is Keri Barnum, Executive Director for New Shelves Books, and we do come every single Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern. And if you have not yet, please hop over to our YouTube. Please subscribe. We love to have you there. We get a lot of emails every week saying, oh, I missed, can I rewatch it? Of course you can, but if you are subscribed on YouTube and you are following us there, you actually get a ping every time we put a video up. And we love to connect with you there and all of that. So thank you guys for joining me today. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. In upstate New York, it's gorgeous weather. It's like 65 and the leaves are changing. So I hope that you are somewhere that's as beautiful as what I'm seeing and that you have a really great weekend. We'll talk next week. If you have questions, either join us live or just send them in to questions@freeadvicefridays.com, and we will be back next week. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.